Hey guys, so today I'm going to be looking at people who took their revenge. So yeah, let's just get right into the video. So my daughter, who was 8 at the time, was really into Minecraft, as most kids are these days. Also, desperately wanting to join the YouTube Let's Play culture, I had installed some screen recording software that would let her make videos of the game she was playing so she could later upload them to YouTube. Oh my gosh, parent goals, yo. Anyways, one day I'm minding my own business when I hear her quietly sniffling over on the computer. I asked her what was wrong, but she didn't want to tell me, so I let it go, but decided to keep an eye on her. A few minutes later, I discovered what was happening. Someone was harassing not only her, but also all the other kids playing on whatever server she was on. This kid, we'll call him Little Shithead, was saying about how he was going to assault my 8-year-old daughter. She told him how old she was, hoping he would stop, how he was going to hack into her IP and steal all her information, swearing profusely. Remember, this is a game for kids, etc, etc. By this time, I had gotten my fiance involved, and she was also obviously quite upset at what a little this kid was being. We realized that our daughter had been recording the entire incident, and a plan began to form. I started by googling his username. There were several hits immediately, the most interesting of which involved a page where he was publicly applying to be a mod for a server on Minecraft. I was able to learn a lot about this guy. He claimed to be 15, likes hockey, used to live in Toronto, but now lives in Florida. But the bombshell was easily his Skype contact information. It was literally first name dot last name. I know your name now, you little So I head over to Facebook and search for the name. Nothing. On a hunt, I searched for just the last name, while narrowing my results to only the state of Florida. Several dozen hits. So I have to start combing through each one until I find what I was looking for. A middle-aged man with the same last name whose profile indicates he was born in Toronto and now lives in Florida. I found your dad. So I sent him a message on Facebook asking if he had a son named first name who goes by his username on Minecraft. Dad confirmed I had the right guy. So my wife begins telling the dad everything that his son was saying to my daughter, and we sent him the recorded video as proof. Radio silence for a few days. Then we got the message back. That kid had his computer taken away from him for the entire summer and had also been lying about his age. He was only 11, I think. His parents were livid with him, and he surely hated the next few months of his life. No one screws with my daughter. Yes! Good. 11 years old and saying stuff like that? Are you serious? Yo. Some kids really shouldn't be on the internet. Actually, I feel like most kids shouldn't be on the internet. The internet is a freaking scary place. Like, honestly. I've heard some people say such mean things to kids in games before, and it just breaks my heart that someone would say that. It's just like, are you serious? You're a grown adult and you're bullying a kid online? Man, I do feel like social media and all that stuff is just too much for kids. Like, kids don't need to be on social media, okay? They don't need to know what they should change about themselves. Like, nah, okay? They're too young for that stuff. None of that. Alright, moving on. Last summer, I was at a cousin's wedding. His bride and her family had been close with ours since before I was born, and the couple had known each other since they were toddlers, so it was a particularly exciting event for both sides of the family. However, after the ceremony was over and the party had only just started, one of the bridesmaids decided to announce her own engagement. The attention was immediately taken away from the newlyweds and brought to the bridesmaid, who I'll call Sarah, and her equally smug fiance. My cousin's wife, I'll call her Emma, didn't make a scene or utter a single negative word about Sarah. She looked like she was on the verge of tears, but she kept grinning and acted very happy for the other couple. This was unusual, as Emma is typically quite confrontational and speaks her mind no matter the consequences. Sarah later picked Emma to be the maid of honor at her own wedding, which took place last weekend. I wasn't there for it, but my cousin sent me some of the best bits on Snapchat and explained the whole situation. This is where the fun begins. Emma's two much younger sisters were the flower girls at Sarah's wedding. At the very last moment, Emma switched out the white petals in their baskets to blue ones she had secretly brought with her. She told her sisters not to say anything about it or let the bride see them until it was time to scatter them down the aisle. Sarah looked very confused upon seeing the blue petals, which didn't coordinate whatsoever with her theme. But of course, she didn't say anything about it in the moment. Most of Sarah's other bridesmaids were also Emma's friends, had attended Emma's weddings and were in on Emma's scheme. At the reception, Emma's sisters and the other bridesmaids were tight-lipped when Sarah began demanding to know why there were blue petals. The wedding planner ended up getting a lot of abuse for not checking the flower girls' baskets before they walked down the aisle. Finally, it was time for the speeches. The speeches took place in front of a massive screen, displaying a loop of photos with Sarah and her husband, which had been compiled by Emma. Emma took the remote that controlled the presentation screen, and at first she showed some pre-approved humorous photos of Sarah with Emma and other friends to facilitate a couple light-hearted jokes. Then at the very end, Emma said to Sarah that she must be wondering why there are blue petals instead of the white ones originally planned. That was when Emma displayed the last slide from her presentation. Emma announced in front of everyone that she was 5 months pregnant and that she just discovered the baby was a boy, hence the blue petals. The last slide, her ultrasound picture. There were shocked yells and gasps. Sarah had a fit, but those involved in the scheme cheered so loudly that I sincerely regret watching the Snapchat recordings with headphones. Apparently, Sarah had been very nasty to her bridesmaids before, driving several of them away and forcing the others to pay ridiculous amounts of money for dresses. Emma and my cousins were eventually thrown out of the party, but they were all smiles. Sarah's fuming mother went to confront her outside, and Emma retorted with, "Gentle, gentle, I'm pregnant." I reckon Sarah doesn't speak to the majority of those bridesmaids anymore. Yo, Sarah freaking deserved it. Why would you announce your engagement at someone's wedding unless the person who's having the wedding agrees with that or wants you to do it? Okay? You don't just do it randomly. Like, you don't do that. That's so rude and disrespectful. Sarah got what she deserved. Wow, that was amazing. That's what the blue petals were for? Pretty much like a little baby reveal, you know? You know why the petals are blue? Because I'm pregnant with a boy! Crazy. These people are actually good with their revenges. Alright, moving on. This story is widely known amongst my family and is constantly brought up and joked upon in my group of friends even years later. Backstory: I was a senior in high school at the time and I had never been the brightest student. I was a solid C student and I had never received a detention or had any kind of bad student record. This is important because to this day, I still have no idea why the teacher treated me this way. The teacher, who we will name Miss Frank, had been a teacher there for almost more than a decade and was widely known for being a petty, heartless bitch who the administrators saw as the golden child. Miss Frank taught algebra, which is my worst subject, so naturally I had issues understanding the lessons and would ask questions frequently. To some, these questions are easily answered, but to me it was rocket science. Usually when someone asks a dumb question, no one should address it. However, in Miss Frank's case, she would belittle me in front of everyone by saying things such as, "And here comes the slow boy again. Wow, surprise, surprise, you don't understand it again. Really? We have to go extra slow for you today, don't we?" Etc, etc. I tried going to the administration about it before, but again she was considered the golden child. They would send someone in to examine her during class. She would act respectful and normal for one day and go back to being a bitch the next. This goes on for about half the year until I had enough, bought a recorder and secretly recorded every insult she would throw at me. I would sometimes instigate to make up for the lost time. Go ahead, feed the fire. Fast forward to the end of the year and I'm sitting in Miss Frank's class when I ask a question. Her response, and I quote because it's burned into my brain, was, "I've been teaching here for 10 years and that was the single dumbest question I've ever heard come from anyone's mouth." She continued the lesson without answering. I calmly stood up, packed my stuff, and headed to the nurse's office to dismiss myself from school. We were allowed to dismiss ourselves if we were 18. I went home, compiled all of the brutal tapes into one glorious masterpiece, and headed back the next day to show the administrators. I sat down with the principal and we listened to a couple of the insults before he stopped me. He wanted more witnesses present as well as Miss Franks. He told me we would meet the next day where I could show him and the rest of the administrators the full tape. I walked into the school the next morning being the most nervous I've ever been for anything. I was called down to the office where I met with some board directors, the local school police officer, the principal, the vice principal, and Miss Franks. What follows was some of the greatest minutes of my life. I watched as the administrators went from fed up with being in another useless meeting to furious and speechless, with some of them keeping their mouths open for the duration of the tape. I also watched Miss Frank go from confident and stuck up to her realizing that she had screwed up beyond repair. She was publicly roasting herself in front of the most important people from the district. The tape ended, and without hesitation, the administrators looked around in astonishment, and principal turns to me and says, "I think we have heard everything we need to. Thank you." And I was quietly dismissed from the room. The final time I saw Miss Frank was leaving the room. I looked back and we made eye contact through her tear-filled eyes as I gave the biggest, most evil smile. I would have done the same. I returned to class the next week and Miss Frank was nowhere to be found. The story spread quickly throughout the school and I was seen as a saint. I had successfully gotten her fired and made it almost impossible for Miss Frank to return to her teaching career, as well as cut off most of her connections she had with other teachers in the school. I had ruined her financially because no school district in the area would hire this walking piece of garbage. Teachers like this should not be teachers. Yeah, she deserves to get fired, long ago. She did not deserve to be still teaching in that school and making money for belittling people. Come on. The administrators, come on. I just don't understand how some teachers become teachers, and why would you want to become a teacher if you hate teaching so much? Honestly, the only reason you should be a teacher is because you want to teach people things and you want to answer questions that people ask you. Else, why do you want to be a teacher? You dumb. Honestly. Well, that's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Tell me in the comments down below what your thoughts are, and as always, thanks for watching. Hope you guys liked it, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!